process that every building or every structure in the built element has to go through. It differs from country to country, but usually at the end you either get a stamp that approves that you can build this thing that you want to build, or in the worst case, somebody comes in and gives you a slap on the wrist and says, "No, my friend, not like this." And then you have to go back to the planning board, get better, and try again. So yeah, I would
Mm-hmm.
say the permit, at least in the sense that we are covering today, um, would be mostly around the process, and we are not going to focus on like the organizational parts today. Of course, those are very interesting. And from my personal view, they are probably the most challenging when it comes to this topic because we are all used to working in a certain way, and it's always hard to change. But I mostly focus on the technical aspects, and those are, I would say, pretty well established and researched, and also I think it's fair to say that it's not actually rocket science. So today we'll try to keep it on that. If you have any questions around the other topics, feel free to ask. I might give a very diplomatic answer, but I'll try to reply anyway.
Okay, okay, that sounds good. Thank you for the introduction. Guys, we are going to, Luis is going to go over what he has to share with us. If you want to ask questions, please do that. Ask in the comments, leave a comment with your question. And after that, after we go over all these things, I'm going to ask Louis your questions, okay? And we are going to try to, he is going to try to reply to you, okay? Also, something else, if you have any friends you think might be interested in this, you know, there is a button, a small button there, repost. You don't have to type in any text or anything. Just press on that small button, repost, because if you do that, everyone, like some of your friends are going to see this video live streaming on your feed, and they might be interested to join as well. And maybe they learn a thing or two about this. Maybe they see something interesting that they could apply in their work. So without further ado, Louis, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Petru. And I have one more thing to ask from the audience. Uh, yeah, if there is some Swiss people in the audience, it would be great if you could get an address ready that you would like to have a look at. Maybe not to dox your home address if you don't want to. And for all the other people out there, maybe you want to open Google Maps and have a look at the beautiful country of Switzerland where we are focusing today.
Okay.
So yes, let me share my screen. You should see that now. Um, can you see that?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Nice.
Babylon JS.
So yes, we are in an online GLB viewer, and this should just set the stage a little bit for what we'll see today. We are in Zurich, down in the city, and looking from above. And of course, we can also tilt this, and then we can see that we are looking at real 3D buildings that are overlaid with satellite imagery. But if we wind back a little bit and take it one step at a time, I or the topic for today is actually the open BIM permit. And when we say open, or when I say open BIM permit, what I mean is a permit application process based on open standards and open source. So that means it doesn't involve proprietary tools or proprietary data formats. So everything is open and accessibly and reproducibly. So yeah, if or the this whole thing started for me because I was asked by a few different people actually around this topic of open permit or building permit. And I had the pleasure to do some research from time to time. People contact me to find out some interesting stuff for them, which I gladly do. And since it's all open source, I can share it here today.
That's amazing.
And the whole thing basically started with the question, and it started here in Zurich actually. Can we find out what can be built on a certain plot? So if we look at this map and maybe we can color it, then for those of you who have been to Zurich, it's quite a nice area down here by the lake. So I thought to myself, well, it would be great if we could build something down here. So I had to look around for some free plots, but yeah, it's all taken. But then I realized, there is something here, and then yeah, my what I built as a prototype lets us do exactly that. I will quickly show this to you, and you can try this at home if you want to. Petru can share the link. It only works for Zurich addresses, and it only works fully for the city of Zurich, because I've
Aha.
only implemented their building codes. So what you
Okay.
have to do is exactly what I did. You go to Google Maps, you find an empty plot, or you find some kind of plot, and then you copy the address, and then you can go back into the tool, enter the address, and you can actually see it on the map. And we are here again on our beautiful empty plot that I think we should build something on. And if I then let the Swiss zoning API tool do its job, we can find out what kind of building code is applicable for that site. And then we can see here that this is a special zone, and probably we can't build there for some reason. Um, and I I'm not gonna dox my home address, but we live up here in beautiful Wittikon, and my neighbor back here, he has this huge plot with just one house on it and two people living in it. So let's just take his home address and let's see what we could build in his backyard. I'm not sure um, how interested he would be in that, but just for the for the yeah, just for the sake of it, and because I know we can get good results there, let me enter the correct address. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna go through the Swiss official cadastral data, and it's gonna fetch the some information about the parcel. So, for example, we can get the parcel number, which then lets us get other info about it. But we can also get the EGRID, which is the official identification for every parcel in Switzerland. And then we can switch to the official cadastral viewer, where we see that we are on the same site, and we can check that everything matches, which it does. And at that point, I'm going to switch back, because I present the information here. So this is a zone called W3, which means you can build 3 stories, and that gives us a maximum height of 9.5 meters. Then they also have some other yeah,
Wow.
construction codes that require you to only have like one attic, to not have too many floors below zero, etc. And that can all be gathered from publicly available and totally free data sources. And if we then go a step further into the ÖREB, which is then from like our local municipality, we get all the restrictions for this site. So, for
Mhm.
example, we can see here that this is actually in the flight path of the airport Zurich, and therefore there's some restrictions on this site. I don't know exactly what that means, but
Yeah.
maybe that means something for an architect. And you can get all the information of like the official sources on this site that usually is a bit hidden in like some PDFs, etc. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, yeah, it looks very interesting. I already have so many questions, but I don't want to start spamming. So, guys, ask questions right now. Don't wait until the end, okay? If you don't write them, don't let them go slip away. Write them now. And like I said, don't forget to repost this. But also, like, leave a comment and tell me something. What do you think about this tool? Do you like the tool? Do you see any potential of using something like this? Would something like this be useful in your country, in your city? Yeah, keep going, Louis. I'm very intrigued.
Thank you. Cool. So this is purely like on a data level, and it's only the entry point to keep the audience hooked. We'll get to the visual stuff soon. So yeah, it this information can then all be pulled together, and we can have a look at like stuff like site coverage, or in German the Überbauungsziffer, and also we can look at the Ausnutzungsziffer, which is a floor to whole site area ratio. And we can kind of say like, well, if we only cover like 20%, and maybe we only have 0.8 floor ratio, how much could we actually build then? How many square meters? And maybe how many units if it were like a residential, or if it was an office. So we can very early in the planning stage, before anything has actually begun, we can find out programmatically and through openly available API sources, totally free, the potential of a certain plot in Switzerland, or at least in Zurich, for the city of Zurich currently. So this proves that on the data side, there is a lot possible. If we know where a building is being built, we can get the building codes for that building. And if those building codes would be in a machine readable format, which is of course not the case, I had to transpose them myself into something that I can work with. Then it would be very easy to go to the next step, which is geometry, of course. And I am very lucky, or let me just share the GitHub for what I just showed you.
Yeah.
It's open source, and code is available for those that are interested. But yeah, that can be run through the website pretty easily.
What
Um,
can somebody do with this code? To replicate this and build for another country, or what could be a use case for this?
No, this is purely for Swiss people who want to build their own stuff, or who want to know how this
And
API
use this
works.
platform. Ah, okay. You use the API,
If
okay.
if yes, if you're interested in how how I use these APIs, just have a look at the code.
Okay.
But it's not rocket science. And I teach at BFH, and I had the pleasure to work with very enthusiastic students who actually built something that very near to what I'm showing now, um, for as part of an assignment. So there's like quite a big interest in this topic. which then, of course, made me explore it more. And so this is the next step in the evolution, going from data to actual geometry. When we know where the building sits, on which plot, then we can get like the site boundaries, etc. And then we can start to compare the actual building envelope to what is allowed to build on that site. And
Uh-huh.
then we are very near to at least a partially automated building permit um, sub-process. Let's put it like that. Of course, there's a lot more that has to go into it to be like complete.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we have the basics. We have the IFC model. We have the official cadastral data, and now what I'm showing is how to also get the site boundaries and context into 3D, which then enables the later workflows that I won't be showing today, of actually checking how that building is going to work on that site and with those restrictions. So
Makes sense.
yes, IFC site lives on GitHub here, and I have to do a very quick tangent um, into software architecture. What I developed here is mainly a CLI, which is a command line interface. That means you download the repository and you can run it on your machine. So your machine has the CLI and it reaches out to the APIs, it gets all the data, and it builds the IFC or the result files on your machine, which works great, especially for very large sites. And it's basically the only way to use the full potential of the tool right now. I have exposed it as a server API and I've developed a front end, but I did that just for today and it's still very prototypey. And you cannot do things like get a kilometer of site over the API. I am not paying for a server like that, and it doesn't make any sense to do it like that. If
Uh-huh.
you want to do it like that, I would suggest you download some kind of code editor. Maybe you take one that has some AI built in, and you tell it, you give it the URL to this repo, and you just type in, help me run this in the CLI, and it will do it for you perfectly, and it will
Uh-huh.
create the IFCs for you. And then you have it on your machine, and you can run it whenever you want.
Sounds
And
very good.
what I do here is I get a lot of different APIs. So I get actually I get the roads from an official source. They have like all the road data in them. So this is an official Swiss source from the Swiss Topo.
Mm-hmm.
They make all this available by publishing all this data. And they also have the 3D data for the houses, which then allows you to actually view the buildings in 3D, which is exactly what I use. And I basically just convert that into IFC then. And I am gonna share the link to the user interface that I built now. Might be a bit dangerous because it's not really production ready. But yeah, if you go to that site, you have access to the API. You can do a lucky draw to get some Swiss addresses, and maybe we'll do let's do Toblerone, where they do the chocolate,
Yeah.
and then you can say what you want. Maybe you want the terrain and the site. and you just you put a radius, and I'll keep it small deliberately, and it is failing sometime, as I've said. Then we'll just have to rerun it. And if the server goes to sleep, then you'll get an error as well. Then you'll just have to rerun it as well. But yeah, basically what it does is it goes to all these APIs, and it captures all that data, and then it generates a nice perfect IFC for you. And if we have a look at one I prepared with the Zurich main station, then you can see it's going to look like that. It didn't produce all the buildings here because it got overwhelmed at some part. So yeah, that's something to be mindful of. But I think this is 1 kilometer. So that the railway station is here. And then you can see I even built railway tracks in IFC.
Wow,
So you get the nice perfect railway with the sleepers and everything.
that's
And
crazy.
everything is pretty data rich. So you can see that this has a PZ railway, and that's an electrified line with some gauge info, tracks,
What?
etc.
Where does it
You
get this
can
information from?
Oh, those APIs are very rich in data, and I just
Wow.
put everything in the right spot in IFC. Also, for the buildings, we get what kind of building is it? We get the eaves height, the total height. We can also look at the site itself, because this is, of course, about the site. And if I click on the site, then how do I see info about the site, Petru? I have to go into the
The site? No, you have to go into general, yeah, the first
here.
tab and
Yeah,
here.
thank
Yeah.
you. But where do I see it
Is
displayed?
there. You have selected it. It's above. Where you,
And the
yeah.
properties of the
Yeah.
site.
Oh,
Yeah, it
okay.
has.
You want to, you have to click on that square. If you see the square above, where is the set below text? There. Click on that
Thank
and
you.
now go on the
Now it's,
information.
yeah, I was looking for that.
Yeah.
So you can see we have the GeoPortal URL, we have the land title, etc. We have the buildable area, because yeah, this is at least supposed to be for the site.
Yeah. Yeah. We start to
And
get some questions. So, guys, keep
yes,
them going. Okay. Keep them flowing. We're going to go over this later.
let me switch back to the user interface where it has finished with that download. Um, and now you can see I can download the IFC. I do have other options here. I can take roads, building, forests, which is more like tree lines, not entire forests. I can take the water bodies, the railways. And then I can also use satellite images. I've restricted it to five, so you'd have to deselect another one. And the satellite images, they don't resolve well for IFC, but it lets you create those really nice 3D worlds with full texture, which is really cool, because then you can apply the textures to the actual buildings, which at least from above looks great. If you zoom into the site, into the sites, you can see that it's a UV projection, which doesn't work for the facade.
Mhm.
But this isn't IFC. This is GLB, and you can, of course, you can do it in the API very flexibly, but you can also do it here, where you can say export GLTF, and then it's gonna create that as well. And if I do that, or if I take another address, it's gonna create those two files, the IFC and the GLB with the satellite image, which just gives you the whole context of the site, and it's not, to be honest, it's not strictly relevant for the permit itself. But yeah, I believe it's still nice to get you going if you are starting with a fresh project.
So who is the main target audience for this? Who are the people who can use this tool, could use it?
I wouldn't recommend anyone to use this in a production setting. I wouldn't recommend anyone to rely on the interface. This has been an exploration so far where different people have asked me if different things were possible. And so far, yes, everything has been possible. And that leads me to the conclusion that for the open BIM building permit, it's not actually the technical challenges that are the hurdles, but it's more like on a process or people's level, probably. But yes, this is or let's say this is still very explorative, etc. For Swiss architects and planners, if you work in early stage and you need get the site context into IFC anyways, this might be a good way. But then I'd recommend you use it in the CLI through the GitHub that you can clone and then you can run it locally and you can create your huge sites if you want to and use that in like early stage planning, etc. But yes, what I wanted to prove or what I have proven is that technically it is totally feasible to get the whole building extents to get the site to find out what can be built on the site and then to prepare the whole geometry to start to actually comparing what is allowed versus what is planned. Which yes, now everything is in place to actually do that, I would say.
All right.
If you look into the repo, there's also on the results, there's a few nice places in Switzerland that I generated. So if you want to plan your next holidays in 3D, maybe that's another use case. But yeah, let's see.
Yeah. I'm laughing, but that could be instead of walking on Google Street, like this could be the next nerd level.
Do we have any addresses from our listeners,
Hey guys, do you
Petru?
have any addresses? You are a bunch of you from Switzerland, but I didn't see any address, to be honest.
Maybe
Let's see.
they all already are generating themselves on here. But I can run it through the CLI and
Oh,
then
okay.
we can
West
calculate.
Streets.
Best rights.
Yeah,
Yes.
I see
I
Raphael said that.
can. Yeah, let's go to Geneva. I know they have some coverage there, and maybe we can go to the Jeu d'eau. I don't think we'll build anything here, but yeah, you never know. And I will put that into the CLI and let's see what comes out. Do we have any other questions in the meantime, or should I keep
We have
going a
many
bit?
questions. Yeah.
Good. Let's switch to questions then, because I've shown about everything.
Okay, cool. Um, let's scroll to the question. So the was the name of that place. Then some Felix Freitag says this. Some cantons require to pay for cadastral plans. Will it be possible to fetch the data from those ones as well in a future version?
No. Until someone pays me to get it working, no. I'm in like this is not by accident. I use open data, I use freely accessible data, and I try to use it in a let's say in a way that doesn't hurt them, because we have to be very aware that this is only possible because they have, and with them I mean our government, they have decided to make this data freely available. When we run a query to their API and ask them, please give us everything in a 1 kilometer radius, then a machine that they own and that they pay money for has to do some work for us, and we don't pay anything for that. And I think that's great. And I like to use it like that. But I'm not planning to expand on anything protected or proprietary in any way. If that's interesting for someone, I look into it. But it's not something that's on my list personally.
Okay, that's great. But you mentioned that do you plan like was this the whole purpose to just build this concept and to showcase what's possible and let the stakeholders to decide if they can put together maybe and found this and create a real project that everyone in Switzerland could use? Or do you still plan to develop it into some direction, but not just paying for API access and stuff like that, which about the functionality, about how the tool, like, do you have any plans to develop more or?
No, no, this is as I yeah, this is mainly like explorational, and I had to prove that this works, and usually it's my experience that things are sometimes a bit abstract to talk about, and then I like to build something, and then we
In
have
showcase,
something
yeah,
to look at and to talk about, and then it often gets a lot more concrete. Um,
makes sense.
so yeah,
But do you see any
Geneva.
potential? Could this become a real project, like something that can be replicated in other places? Or I'm sure people could you take everything you have and keep building on it. But like I mean, in Switzerland, so far, did you get any signals that there is any like, is this for now just helping to explain and clarify concepts, or do you see might be any potential to go even deeper?
I Not really. I don't see this as a product. I see this maybe if there's interest, I'll make the API more stable so architects can use it in early
Yeah.
stage. I would be willing to do that.
Okay.
It doesn't cost me any money, and um, I mean, we have to be aware that you can get all this data from other sources. Um, and you can even write a request to Swiss Topo, and they will put it into IFC for you. But you have to write them an email, and I think you get it back as an email. And I've never
Aha.
done that. I think they have a very similar script to what
Okay.
I've developed, just with their internal sources, probably
Ah.
using IFC OpenShell as well.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so therefore, and I don't want to be like I don't want to challenge their service or anything like that. I'm very thankful for what they do, and I'm not going to be a competitor with Swiss Top in any way.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for putting you, asking you so
No
difficult
worries.
questions.
No
I don't think too
worries.
much. I just asked from intuition. So, the next one from Mikhail Lipsky. Do you get zoning data through API or your tool have to scan through PDF documents defining requirements?
Um, the zoning classification I can get from the API. So what kind of zone it is? For example, the W3 we saw. What that means then is another topic,
Yeah.
and that's what I mentioned with having those requirements or regulations in a machine readable format. which isn't the case.
Yeah.
What I did is I downloaded the PDF of Zurich with the Bauordnung, etc. And I just scanned through it, and I thought, okay, we have W3 and it means 3 stories. And then I took some other stuff from it just to prove the point, put
Mm-hmm.
it into a JSON, and then I used that as kind of, yeah, a very basic version of how this could work. In practice, I believe this is a great hurdle for the whole openBIM permit because all the municipalities would have to translate in some way their rules and regulations into something that can actually be used in a machine readable way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Rafael Revet is asking, it already exists the same possibility for other Swiss zone?
Um, for like the Yeah, the thing that I showed at first is only restricted to Zurich, and that's exactly for the reason that I just said, because I had to encapsulate their building regulations, which
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna do for whole Switzerland. And then also I'm using like the local APIs for that, which is a bit different from the federal APIs.
Mm,
But let's not get into too much details of
yeah.
Swiss politics. So yeah, this is very limited, basically only to the city of Zurich. It would work if we could translate other building code requirements, but the IFC site where you can get the actual 3D that will work independently of where you're from.
Yeah.
So that works for whole Switzerland.
Mm-hmm. All right. Arun Ravikumar says, nice app. Thank you, Arun. Pierre Venter is asking, what's rocket science for older people? Uh, yeah. If you have an answer to that, you can go ahead. Uh, Ricardo Simões asking, compared to the reality in Portugal, it seems like I'm watching a science fiction movie. Incredible work. Congratulations. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Amazing stuff. Yunus Chuntuk is asking, wouldn't be more easy to work with CityJSON, GeoJSON?
I do actually. Um, the APIs return GeoJSON for some cases. And then I even get city XML or what's it called? I don't remember. Especially Geneva, etc., has very detailed building elements that they even give in different formats.
Hmm.
Yes,
Okay.
and for
Uh,
example, you can, yeah,
yeah, go ahead. Go
go
ahead.
on.
No, no, it's okay. If you have more to say to this matter, it's okay.
No, I'm just showing what it can do. So
Yeah.
you can download the image, the texture image, and you can download the IFC, or you can download the GLTF. And the GLTF, it cannot be opened in a normal IFC viewer. You have to use like an online GLTF viewer, but then you can feed it in here, and you get your model with the texture applied to
Mm-hmm.
the terrain
Yeah.
for our little site here.
Yeah. Very
Go
cool.
on.
Okay. Going on. Vlad Trestaru is asking, the Swiss zoning API repo seems to be private.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'll make it public afterwards. It's not supposed to be private. I can open it.
Great. Vlad, I hope you got your answer. Roger Sennhauser, can we get the site boundary cadastral parcel geometry per EGID?
Yes. EEGID
Yeah,
or
EG.
EGRID.
No, like I read only EGID in his text.
You can go from EGID to EGRID, but I work with EGRID. I don't work with EGID, but you can go from the both. But I only resolve the address, so you can type your address here, and then I resolve it to the EGRID.
Mm,
But yes, that's shouldn't be a problem, I would say.
okay. Pierre Venter, I like the approach to package the access to the data and on a light platform. Good one. Pierre again has a question. The initial requests are saved for future queries. Example, the planning depth department may be approached for amended planning requirements.
Yeah, that could be a cool extension. Um, and from what I hear, Dubai actually has this in place. I think they have a process where you can upload your building model and then you get basically an instant feedback of how compliant you are with the building regulations and
Yeah,
requirements.
yeah.
And then you can get better over time, and go get to 100%, hopefully, before somebody even has to look at it and waste time telling you what you've
Mm,
done wrong.
great. Kevin Schmidt, that's incredible. Perfect for contextual models.
Yes,
Uh,
agreed. Thank you.
and then he says something. I think it was a comment for BonsaiBIM. Press the little white square space, which I
Thank
told
you.
you. Uh,
Yes.
can we extract the rules in any machine readable form from Nick Nisbet? Can we
Which
extract
rules?
the rules in any machine readable form?
I assume he means the like the building regulations rules. Um, And yes, of course you can. The like, and here we are very much into the process area, where I'll tread carefully. Um, but building codes are very, at least in Switzerland, they differ from place to place, and there's a reason why they are not the same everywhere. And we and we have to accept that. And people work differently, depending on where they are, and they have worked for this for years. So imagine you work at some kind of official place where you handle building permits. If some kind of tech geek comes to you and tells you, well, I have a good initiative and I am gonna encapsulate all your logic and everything that you do, I will put it into a machine and it's gonna be much better than you. How do you think does that make that person feel? I wouldn't feel I wouldn't feel that good if someone came to me like that. And that's only like on a sentiment level, which I believe is important if you want to work with someone. But on a more technical level, um, this is usually their starting point when they start with such an initiative. Um, they have to encapsulate their building code into some kind of logic, which is not very sexy, and it's not a cool ramp up if you want to get new stakeholders, get new municipalities, and you have to tell them, well, you sit down and you put all your logic into my Excel template or whatever it is, and you're going to spend 3 days and you're going to be frustrated. Nobody likes to start a new project like that. So I think these are like the tension. These show the tensions that we have here, and those are
Mm,
real. I haven't totally read the Zurich building code. I'm not that into it, and
mhm.
I have fed it to large language models,
Yeah.
which is totally doable. It then brings up a whole different kind of soup of how can we make it traceable, how can we make it actually reproducible, how can we have those people who know what they're doing at the official places check like the LLM suggestions, etc. But I would say there is definitely technically it is definitely possible to go from relatively unstructured building codes to structured data that you can then go further with.
Mhm.
But as I said, I think this is not a technical challenge in itself. This is a challenge in how to get the user engaged, how to make everybody feel like they can contribute to the process and
Yeah.
not to leave anyone like standing in the rain.
Okay. Um, we got some more feedback from Nick Nisbet regarding the machine readable format, and he says IDS or RASE or
Oh,
IFC constraint.
oh yeah. Yes, definitely. Now I understand. And to be honest, I haven't looked into that too much. I've been pretty content with my JSON files.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a lot of potential there. I agree, Nick.
Mhm.
Um, might be worth to have another chat sometime.
Okay. We got a few addresses. I'm sending you one in Zoom. Unfortunately, we
Yes,
will not have
please.
time to go over all of them. Let's take the first one from Stefan Wolf. Thank you, Stefan, for sharing this. Sorry, Jan, Pavel, and Nicholas for not having the time to go over all of them. But you can apply the same thing exactly how Louis is doing it for the first one, right?
Yes. And this is Geneva, the West Schweiz that was requested before, where we can see that we have the lake down here. And I think this is the old city of Geneva.
Uh-huh.
The other one is loading. It's loading the railways. Um, and the
I can
railways.
ask next if you can reply to something else until then.
Yeah, go for it.
Bernd is asking, I missed the first minutes. Maybe it has been said before. How about Swiss cadastral data? It is on Z equals zero point 0.0. Did you move it in the correct altitude?
Yes, I do. I don't work with, or let's say, I I get the site boundaries and then I project the site boundaries onto the actual terrain, which works really well because then it allows you to actually be like in the real world. This was quite a lot of exploration, but I had to realize where are we? I had to realize that if you don't if you don't project it, then you get like a very, or let's say if you don't project it, then you get like a flat site, which doesn't make any sense. And sometimes terrain can be quite steep, etc., especially in Switzerland. So what I then do is that the actual site that you can see here, because we are looking at that site. I project those side boundaries up onto the terrain, and then I build up the site downwards. So the site is actually a 3D body, a B-rep mesh that has the exact outlines of the site, and then it gets projected onto the correct height, which is meters above sea level.
Yeah.
And then I take the midpoint of that whole site. I look up its coordinates and I save it into the IFC perfectly georeferenced, which means the site has an IFC map conversion and it relates to the Swiss LV95 data.
Okay. We won't have time to go over all the questions. Raphael asked how it happened, how it works with georeferencing. I guess you just replied to that.
Yes,
That georeferencing is applied to the site,
yes.
right?
I take the middle. I take the middle, and then I use the middle as 00 for local 00.
Mhm.
But then with the map conversion, we know where in the world we are.
Yeah, okay.
So we have local coordinates, best practice in IFC.
Okay, amazing. Raphael, danke Luis für die Westschweizer, for reviewing Westschweizer, I guess. Nick Nisbet says that Singapore, Dubai, Estonia, Finland all have compliance checking. Yeah, I know like Finland is new on that front as well, Dubai as well, but yeah, it's still a long way to go to become like industry-wide and like everyone to use it. But yeah, I like they have compliance checking, and also Nick says that relieved mass they can focus on site inspections.
Yeah.
And that's about it. Sorry guys, if we didn't manage to answer your question, we have to wrap it up. The time is out, and I have to do something else now. But I really appreciate you for taking the time to be here. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you want to watch the recording, get ready. I'm going to publish this on YouTube the following days. So follow my BIMvoice YouTube channel. Thank you very much, Louis, for showing us how to actually showcase something, a proof of concept, instead of just bickering and talking about and throwing around ideas. You build it, man. You have my fullest and deepest appreciation. Thank you so much for
Thank
everything you
you.
do. We stay in touch, we catch up, we keep talking, and everyone stay tuned for our future live streams and for our future showcases. And don't forget to share it with your friends. Thank you again, Louis. Don't forget,
Thank you.
Louis has a website with very interesting tools. Please mention your website. Is louis.lt or something like, no,
lt.plus, plus,
lt.plus with one S or two S.
1s.
Okay. Thank you so much, Louis. Thank you so much, everyone. I see you around, okay? Have a good one. We stay in
Bye
touch.
bye.
Bye bye.